stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the paper was supposed to come out, but I didn't like him out, because I was down there.
So, just so you guys are aware,
I've got another.
so, but you check his
One to right. Even if I stop. My main thing is like I know my backyard. Like the Mexican restaurant was. You know, like because they leave those on. They used to show up at like 10 or 11. Now they're on all night or whatever it is. You know, like hang out like a dark. And but then yeah, I want to just kind of get everywhere, you know. Everybody will know.
sort of the firmware they loaded into it. Gives them, it's a good thing you're bad.
Yeah.
But because of what happened last time,
Exactly.
because we're on them.
I did.
Count towards hours.
10 minutes.
Yeah, just kind of that, the council quarterly one report, and then the SBC, the human system development charge.
What I saw on this report. So, I'm not saying you can't.
Is Brian? We have a form.
No,
so
he
we're
said he was
good.
gonna be gone the 11th, didn't he?
Okay, we have, he's in Florida. We're good. We're good. We'll call this meeting to order. If you'd rise and remove your hats, we'll say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last council meeting.
Second. We've got a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. So moved. Ms. Atkins.
So I have the allowance docket for you guys to consider and approve.
I make a motion to approve that docket.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve accounts payable. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. So moved.
Then I have request number 8. This is for JPRs for their work on the wastewater treatment.
Can I interrupt you for a
Yes.
second? Just for my own clarity, allowance docket and claims,
Are
those
two
are
different
separate
things,
items.
yes.
And we haven't done the claims yet? Okay,
Yep.
all right.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. So moved.
All right, so on to request number 8 for JPR. Again, that's the work for the wastewater treatment plant. This is what will be paid out of the bond. It's in the amount of $22,942.50. I just need you to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve request number 8 for JPR in the amount of $22,942.50.
Second.
We have a motion for request number 8 in the amount of $22,942.50 for the work for the wastewater treatment plant from JPR. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. So moved.
Next on my agenda is the village shops. I just wanted to let you know that I did write the second check, that they have 5 sheds completed. Matt Van Soest put eyes on that. So per the original invoice, 30% has been paid to them, so that's done. Also, as you are aware, we got new software. Keystone was acquired by BS&A. We were about a month into that. I applaud the guys and their help. We have a lot of changes, but working out the kinks and going through that. And so I just want to let you know that. Also with that, there has been some issues and some talk about utility bills and the post office and getting out late. Just wanted to address that we have gotten them out on time. even with the new software, and that it is in the hands of the post office. And it's something that has been happening for several years, and it's just becoming more and more apparent right now. So we're doing the best that we can do to field those calls, and people are always more than welcome to call us, and we'll be happy to give them their information. So that's all I have.
Alrighty, thank you. Mr. Wagner.
A couple things for you tonight, but most importantly, we have a resolution 2026-6 honoring RT and Ginny Henke. Ginny passed away about 2 years ago. RT passed away just last week. RT and Ginny, it's appropriate that you're honoring them tonight together. They did a great deal for this community, not just the town, but this community, and it's just a big loss. There are some things that I know I will be saying. I put them in the category of Dave Holmes, my own dad, that I know later on this year I will be saying I wish RT and Ginny were here for this, and I'm thinking exactly of the standpipe. There are things that they knew how to do. There are things that they accomplished, like the moving of the depot, honestly through sheer willpower. And it's just, I think, really important to talk about them tonight and do this resolution to honor them. I knew this day would come, I just didn't want it. So they've done a great deal for the community, and I hope this helps bring some recognition to them.
We have a family of RT and Virginia here. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and read this resolution, and then we'll approve that, and then we'll hand this off to, I'd like to get a picture with you guys. And all right. Resolution number 2026-6, whereas Virginia K. Henke and RT Henke have been longtime residents of the town of Bremen, Indiana. Whereas Virginia K. Henke was born and raised Madison Township, St. Joe County, Indiana, and whereas RT Henke was born in Addison Township, Shelby County, Indiana, and whereas Virginia and RT made the Bremen community their home in 1999 upon their retirement, and whereas Virginia and RT dedicated their time and energy to countless community projects and efforts, and whereas Virginia and RT were also founding members of Historic Bremen Incorporated, and served a number of local boards, including the United Church Benevolent Society and the Michiana Christian Benevolent Society, the Withogan Valley Preservation Group, and the Indiana Barn Foundation. Whereas most notably, Virginia and RT were instrumental in the relocation and restoration of historic Bremen Depot, which continues to greet travelers entering Bremen from the US 6. And whereas Virginia and RT have made considerable efforts for the improvement of the Bremen community while serving with wisdom, humility, and the spirit of cooperation in pursuit of larger goals. And whereas Virginia and RT have set a standard for volunteer service for all Bremen residents to aspire. And whereas the town council and the Bremen community now mourn the death of Virginia Henke and RT Henke, and whereas the town council of Town of Bremen, Indiana, is desirous of honoring Virginia and RT Henke for their extensive contributions to the Bremen community as volunteers. And now therefore be it resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Bremen, Indiana, that on behalf of the municipality and the entire Bremen community does hereby commend Virginia Henke and RT Henke and express the appreciation and gratitude of the Bremen community for their significant and substantial contributions they have made to the town of Bremen, and it offers sincere condolences to the Henke family. Be it further resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Bremen, Indiana, and all the residents of the Town of Bremen that Virginia Henke and RT Henke are hereby commended for their service to the Bremen community. Dated this 11th day of May, 2026. I will entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2026-6.
I'll make that motion to approve resolution 2026-6 honoring the Hankes, and we appreciate everything they've done.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose the same. So moved. There's a couple of them missing here. I wonder if we should keep it and send to them when we get the other signatures.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough words that you can say to honor your parents, so they were instrumental and we certainly appreciate them, so.
Thank you. Very much appreciate this recognition.
2, 1.
Thank you.
We're gonna get.
Good idea.
Okay, Did you have anything else?
Yes.
Okay.
So I also have Resolution 2026-7. If you recall, back in February, we did some resolutions for one of the properties that was annexed. It's a tax abatement. According to the auditor's office, they discovered they think we're missing one. I had it saved on my computer. I thought we had it submitted back in 2022, but they've asked us to go ahead and approve one that they're missing. So this is for a couple years back, but it's basically still in the step-down schedule. So I'd ask for your approval of Resolution 2026-7.
I'll make a motion, resolution 2026-7, proceed.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to approve resolution 2026-7. It's a resolution approving the local homestead tax credit to be applied to certain properties within the town of Bremen. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. So moved.
And then I know it's on public comments regarding concerns about the gas station that was raised. Mr. Frayne and I have reached out in a couple different directions for some additional information. I did have a long conversation with JPR, their staff that are helping us with the zoning ordinance. Essentially, what we're going to do is start the process to move gas stations into the special exception class instead of the permitted use for just a few of the categories that we have. So that process will start in the near future here, but typically the public hearing is actually held by the Plan Commission before it gets to the council to approve the amendment of the zoning ordinance. So I know there's a lot of people here tonight, I think, that want to speak on that, and that's absolutely fine. I want to tell you what we're getting into, what we're starting. The long-term ramifications, we also discussed what changes we might want to make on a broader scale in the overhauled zoning ordinance. So we have something that's kind of a short-term approach, but then we also have a long-term approach that we're going to work on as well. So I think these changes will be somewhat consistent with what gets done in the future, but I don't really have a good time frame for when that's going to happen, so that's why we're kind of taking both directions at once. So yeah, any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them as best I can right now, but I don't know how quickly that's going to come together, but I would expect that we would have the Plan Commission meeting sometime in the first half of June, roughly. So
For the people that are here to speak, are you recommending they continue by going to that meeting? Or continue coming here, or what do they need to do?
So anyone who wants to support it, there will be a series of meetings. One would be the Plan Commission, and that will be the public hearing on it, and we'll try to advertise that through the normal methods. The other would be when this comes back in front of the town council. This is not to say that anyone cannot keep coming in and speaking at meetings whenever they want. That's why you have your public comment time. But there may not, just because there isn't action being taken at a meeting, doesn't mean that there aren't things in the works. I guess I would ask folks to keep that in mind.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. New business, you have nothing? Okay. Old business, there's nothing on old business. We're gonna turn to public comment. We'll start with Baker Tilly. If you guys are ready.
Hi. I'll start with, I have a couple different things tonight. I'll start with talking about system development charges, something that Megan reached out to us about a few months ago. So we have prepared a proposed agreement about them, but I also passed out a one-page handout tonight, just going over some things about system development charges and why it might be something to consider. So essentially what they're for is to help the growth, pay for growth, and kind of keep the current users from subsidizing any new users that are coming on and putting usage on the system or strain on the system. You may, if you've heard of it before, it's also the same thing as a buy-in fee or a capacity fee. So it's just a separate charge, a one-time charge that a new user would pay up front. And it's also, it would be in addition to, I'm not sure if there's already a tap-in, I'm sure there probably is already a tap-in charge. It's in addition to that for new users. They're important to help, promote fairness for the existing customers and the new customers, like I said, so we're not subsidizing anything. And then just to recover growth-related infrastructure costs. So we do see a lot of utilities with them, very common in water and sewer systems. So the agreement that we did put together covers both calculating it for the water system and the sewer system. Looks like, let me refresh myself on the agreement. As it stands, we put it together as time and expense, just based on the hours that we put into it, not to exceed $12,000. And again, that would cover both the water and sewer calculations. Any questions on those? And also, it's not really a rush on that. If it's something you want to kind of think on, it could be approved tonight, it could be done in the future. There's not any timing on that.
Henry, Matt, any comments on?
We kind of did something like this with Lake of the Woods. And all the new development that's possibly happening in Bremen, this would be kind of the end of the game.
I'd be in favor,
What's that?
in favor to help us
Yeah,
out.
value, see the value there?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions, Alex? I mean, from your point of view, or?
No, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you have a lot of investment that the initial communities put forth for the infrastructure that we have, and then when you bring in new businesses, residents, it kind of isn't fair that they're helping to pay for, they're not paying for what everybody else has already paid for. So there's benefits here. I think we need to weigh it with also possibly some rate increases that are going to be happening. So we don't want to deter business, but we also don't want everybody else paying for, or the existing customers paying for all the developments that have happened over the years. So it's kind of a fine line. I think we need to think about it a little bit, but it'd be nice to get the input from the other two.
Okay. I think we will table it until the
Absolutely.
next meeting when we have all 5 councilmen here.
Sure, and I can just reach out to us if there's any specific questions. I'd be happy to come back to if needed. The other thing I have tonight are the financial management reports that we do each year. I'm going to start with the water utility. Let's see. I'll have you guys start on page 2, if you don't mind. So the first thing we do on these reports is take a look historically. The graph here is looking at cash balances for the last 3 years, 2023, 24, and 2025. So what we can see by looking at 2025 is there was a pretty significant increase in cash, somewhere around $500,000. What's mainly happening there was a liquidation of investments so they weren't previously showing in 2024 within the water utility specifically. So now they've been liquidated, and we kind of saw the rise up in cash. So at the end of 2025, just over $2 million in cash, and then you see the red line kind of signifying recommended reserves. So there's a nice gap there, somewhere around $927,000 above just the minimum recommended reserves for the utility, and that'll come into play kind of as we look at future things going on here.
Is this our reserves that have now been split
Yes.
basically for each appropriation?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Our middle section, I'm not going to get into too much tonight. I would encourage you to kind of look at, we lay things out line by line, but the middle section is looking at 2025 actual versus the budget. The one thing I will point out there that affects both water and sewer is just we've seen decreased consumption, especially with your large like commercial users. So that's really affecting revenues. And last year when we did these reports, we implemented a rate increase for water, I think about 17%, and revenues aren't where we were expecting them even with that increase. So we have that coming into play in our future projections here. So let's have us go to page 7, and I'll kind of talk through what's happening here. So on the bottom of page 7, it's showing basically the cash inflow and outflow each year. So we have 2025 actual was positive, that 500,000 mainly to do with investments. Future years, we can see we're expecting kind of negative outlook in every year, and that's two things going on: the decreased revenues that I just mentioned, and then the capital plan, which we worked with Henry worked with Henry to come up with that. So if I back up to last year when we had the capital plan and did the increase, we used like an average annual capital to plan that out, and this year that number has also increased. So the decreased revenue and the higher expected capital are kind of playing into these negative cash flows and showing us to predict an estimated rate increase needed in the future. Let's go to the next page and we'll kind of see how timing plays out on that. So on page 8, the top table 14, we have the greenish blue line showing our cash balances and seeing that that's going to kind of start going down year over year because of those decreased revenues and the capital, but we're still remaining above the minimum recommended reserves until close to 2029. So just what that tells us is it's not necessarily an emergency to do an increase, but you will see your cash balances declining. So something to keep an eye on in the future.
Estimated, I'm wondering, obviously I think that our large users with the rate increase were finding ways to conserve and do their own things. But also maybe economical issues where we're kind of in a down market a little bit too. So
Right.
How many years do we have before we need to really make a decision on
Looking
the
at
trend?
this and like especially even out until 2027, it looks really comfortable to me just like looking at the gap between the recommended reserves and where we're at. So I think maybe that's something.
So a couple of years,
Yeah.
at least until another year. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
and we're just going to see, some of those cash balances being used, but that's also kind of, what it's there for. That was that extra 900,000 that's above the recommended reserves as of 2025. So just say if you were to we estimated out if you were to move forward with an increase right now, that's looking like about 14%, which would take you from the current rate of $31 for an average household to approximately $35, a little bit more, which is still under our statewide average, which is closer to $40.
Okay,
So I think it's really just something to,
just to
keep an eye on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, with that, I will switch us over to talk about the sewer utility. Let's start on page 2 again. That same cash graph, also showing that increase in cash. This one's closer to $1 million. A lot of that had to do with again, the liquidation of investments, but some other things going on there with bond proceeds, and also just increased revenues from the sewer increase that also happened last year. And again, well above the minimum recommended reserves as of 2025. It's kind of similar thing going on there. Again, the middle section, the budget to actual, it's pretty much the same thing we're seeing in water. The decreased usage, so revenues are lower than we were anticipating at this time, just something we want to keep an eye on. But if I move to the future section, let's go to page 7. The sewer report's a little different in that it's not exactly, we are building in, assuming the phase 2 project, so it's kind of got some things built in here that aren't adopted quite yet. But current estimates for the project, the wastewater treatment plant and the interceptor sewer are over $20 million. So that's what we've built in, assuming the full project with that in 2027. So if we look at the graph, table 13 at the bottom there, we're showing positive cash flows, but this is assuming building in a rate increase with that bond issuance, which it comes out to, based on all this current estimates, we're looking at about 82% increase in 2027 with the $20 million project. Let's see here. I think I had a note, if the town decided not to do the interceptor sewer, because I don't think that's necessarily required, the increase would be closer to 62%. So that's approximately 20% of the cost there. And then it might be helpful to look at.
Do you have an average household?
Yeah, I was gonna take us to that page. Let's see, page 14. This is showing water and sewer. So the third column would kind of be what we'd be looking at here if you increase the water rates like we talked about, and then the sewer would be to the $99 with things as they are right now. Current average is $51. What I would say about the averages on this last column, those are always moving target, like we say. Those are our rates from 2024 and 2025, and we're currently updating and seeing a lot of increases there. So by 2027, that won't, it'll be up there a little bit.
Okay.
I think that's really all I had there, unless you have any questions.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I'll pass it over to Gabe, so he's got the council report.
Good afternoon. I'm Gabe Hartzler with Baker Tilly. Work with Kimberly and Craig Markham, who's not here tonight, so I'm kind of standing in for him to present this quarterly council report. I don't think you guys have done this report historically before, so kind of the gist of it is to kind of give you a snapshot, high level of where you're trending in terms of like your budget that you adopted for 2026, and then like also on the utility side, looking at kind of a budget we kind of came to with discussions with superintendents for this year that we implemented in the FMR that Kimberly just walked through. So this is looking at Q1, January through March. You notice at the bottom of the cover page, the civil side is only going to cover kind of the what we call the core funds, so not every single fund, but these are just kind of, what we mean by that is property tax driven and or just a lot of activity in those funds, so we kind of just focus on those and not necessarily covering every single fund that the town has. And then just kind of another note, we are working on a larger plan that we're going to present probably in the next month or so, which kind of looks out more holistically across everything, 5 years, and really looks at impacts from other legislative changes, and then just kind of future capital planning, so we can kind of give you a bigger picture then that's a lot more detailed than this is here. So I guess we can turn to page 2 and start there. Just kind of looking back over the first quarter, we like to highlight just kind of a few things in the community. One of them, the town was awarded in the second round of the Community Crossings Grant monies that they're going to be put towards Bowen Avenue paving project. The town was also awarded a READY grant earlier this year. Megan, I'm not sure what the dollar amount on that was. I don't know if you know offhand, but and then the town also successfully published annual financial report doing Gateway in February this year. And then kind of as alluded to, the wastewater treatment plant obviously has a big project going on. Phase 1 is officially underway. So those are just kind of some high level stuff that happened this quarter. But jumping down kind of to this graph below, I know there's kind of a lot of colors there, so it's a little much to look at, but that kind of just looks at what your core fund balances have been, that activity over the last few months, so showing at the end of December, and then January, February, March. And so kind of looking at that, kind of all together, it's increased by about 18%. Balances have gone up. So that's primarily driven by, and we kind of touched on this a little bit in the FMRs as well, but kind of liquidation of a number of investments and CDs kind of being portioned out. So those being portioned out kind of led to that growth a little bit. And then just looking at overall budget categories, you've spent a little under 25% on all categories pretty much. So if you split it evenly across the year, first quarter we expect about 25% of those disbursements spent, and you've spent under that so far. And then I guess one other note there on that graph is just kind of looking at the 15% target and the 50% target, which is the red and the kind of the grayish lines. That's just kind of us recommending that you maintain a certain level of cash to cover, 15% would be 2 months of the year's worth of disbursements, and then 50% would be 6 months, half the year. So as of right now, even though obviously this is combined across the funds, it might be a little bit different on a fund by fund basis, like you're well above that, so there's not really any concerns there. So we can jump to the next page, page 3. This kind of just breaks down those disbursements into categories. So we have personal services, supplies, services and charges, and capital outlays. There's also, usually we have debt here, but you didn't make any debt payments yet in the first quarter, so we didn't show that. But you can kind of see, which is pretty typical, personal services makes up kind of the lion's share of your disbursement so far in this first quarter, but it's all within line of 25% of the budget. And personal services include salaries and wages, health insurance, benefits, etc. Supplies, services and charges, and capital outlays were all kind of below 25%, which is good to see. Obviously, those things are a little bit timing specific. So capital, something might be happening more on the back end of the year, for example, or supplies, maybe you buy more supplies at middle of the year, whatnot. So within good ranges there, but a little bit under, which is always a good thing. And then kind of below, there's kind of a different visualization of all those disbursements by fund, so you can kind of see compared to the 2026 adopted budget, and then where you're at the end of quarter 1. And there's not really anything super of note there other than, like I said, debt payments haven't been made yet based on the amortization schedule, so you'll see that come into play. So that's why there's no disbursements as of now there, but about 21% of the budgeted disbursements have been spent so far, so looking great. Let's go to the next page, page 4. So kind of talking about what your receipts look like, your revenue streams. Again, kind of splitting it into these buckets. It's a little misleading again from this charges for services, license permits, and other revenues being really high, because 2.2 of that 2.3 million is from the liquidation of those investments. So normally it wouldn't be quite that large of an outsized difference between the categories, but there is that kind of factoring in there. Then you have local income tax, about 320,000, kind of coming in on a monthly basis. Building over time, over the year, and then you have other tax and intergovernmental, which kind of includes things, auto excise, motor vehicle highway distributions, local road and street distributions, alcohol and cigarette tax, etc., kind of going into that bucket. And then kind of below, just looking at trends, high level, the certified levy the town had increased by $133,000 in 2026 from 2025, and the local income tax revenues increased by approximately $64,000 from 26 from 25. And kind of as a note, property tax is only distributed semi-annually, so the town hasn't received any property tax yet. That'll be distributed in June and December. But you can kind of see there also right above the revenue trends section, there's Q1 receipts by fund. Just kind of shows you a breakdown more by fund of the total receipts coming in for quarter 1. Again, general a little bit wonky because of that 2.2 million, but kind of pretty typical what we'd see there, general bringing in the most revenues. And then I guess 2 other notes on this page. One, MVH distributions might be slightly less this year because Governor Braun suspended the gas tax for 30 days. So obviously relief for taxpayers, as you know, the pump is really expensive right now, but that means that it trickles down to the town receiving a little bit less on that front because he's just paused it. So we don't really know exactly the impact of that as of right now. It seems like it would be relatively minimal overall, but kind of just have to see how that plays out, you know, obviously as things continue. And then interest income has looked really strong. I think we would expect it probably to be even higher this year than it was prior year, but that obviously depends on how much you spend of that on, you know, other town projects or other items, because the interest is based on what you have sitting in the account, right? So if you're spending more of that on other things, then it won't necessarily grow as fast, but it's looked very good, and so far in quarter one you've already earned $116,000 in interest, so very strong there. And then kind of moving on, we kind of touched base on this report on the utilities. We're not going to touch electric, but we do talk about sewer and water. And looking at the end of quarter one, if you look over kind of that little graphic, you know, we're looking really strong in terms of just normal everyday functions outside of the project. $3.29 million in cash balances at the end of quarter one for sewer. And kind of a note there, we are not showing in that amount the bond funds and Fund 6205, which are all kind of only allowable for capital project spending related to the wastewater treatment plant project. So that's outside of that. But if you look at the middle graph there, you kind of see the three kind of categories of disbursements we have shown. Everything's still within line. The capital, the yellow column shows the budget, which, like I said, is kind of implemented in the FMR. So if you look at the financial management report, you can see kind of what our budget is there. But that does include the wastewater treatment plant project, which includes, so of that 5.5 million number there in the 2026 budget for capital, 4.8 million of that is related to the project specifically. And just kind of as a whole, operating revenues are on track, about 24% of the total annual estimated revenues so far for sewer. So we can jump next to water on the next page. Again, kind of looking at it for normal day-to-day operations, everything looks pretty solid. Water utility was at $1.7 million cash balance at the end of quarter one, so about $272,000 increase from 2025. In terms of that middle graph again, kind of looking at operating debt and capital and all those, the Q1 disbursements are about where we'd expect them to be at this time. A little bit higher than 25%, spent about 28% of the budget so far, but like I said, timing issues with that and whatnot can kind of play into it, so I think that's well within what we'd expect. And then looking at revenues, as kind of talked about earlier with financial management reports, we are looking at kind of lagging behind that 25%. Might be still a little bit of that consumption piece adjusting, still kind of stabilizing, but I would also, you know, note that in the spring, you know, January through March, people are using less water probably than the summer months, so it's kind of going to make some of that back in the summer months, because it's not evenly split 25 from what we'd expect there. And then kind of on this last page, just a little bit of a note from Megan in the Clerk Treasurer's office. I won't read that now, but you're welcome to read that. So I just want to say thank you, Megan, for your help in getting all the information we needed for this. I don't know if you have anything to add for quarter one, but...
No, this is just something that we had kind of talked about during the budget meeting, just trying for all of us to kind of figure out and be more transparent with things, that this is something that we wanted from them, so I think we're on a good track.
And we had kind of discussed, Craig, Megan, and I, whether or not, if you guys want us to do it, we will, like every quarter, but we also kind of threw out the idea of maybe doing a quarter one and a quarter three, so kind of giving you more of like a little bit of a gap, so not necessarily every quarter, but just giving you that sense. But if you guys want it every quarter, we're more than happy to do that. It's part of our PT Plus contract, so if there's anything also in terms of feedback of like, if this is helpful, or are there things on here that you want changed or to see differently or to not, you don't really care about, that we can exclude, like definitely let us know, or you know, let Megan know and she can pass that on to us, so we can kind of adjust this a little bit more to what you guys want to see, so to make it helpful to you.
Nope, very good. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Okay. Public comment, I've got down here Jared Seipel. Welcome back, Jared.
Good to see everybody.
Yep.
Sad it's like this. But hopefully we all come together for something for the community.
Yep.
Hey? Tony, I just wanted to, I guess, go back to your comment, if we could, about the kind of moving forward with some things about the ordinances. Is just, are we working, trying to go ahead of this? If, I guess is what we're all doing too, or there certain ones that we do have to, kind of goes along with what Bill was saying, like what meetings do we need to go to and stuff like that, I guess.
Not sure I understand what you're asking.
Well, you were saying you and Keith got together, working different avenues, you said.
Yeah.
And you were working with JPR, working on stuff to get it, I was assuming an ordinance together to where we can kind of get ahead of this from now on or whatever. It's gonna, you said special exemptions,
So there's
not under use.
there's an existing ordinance, there's a zoning ordinance that says what type of uses you can have on every property in town, but also, I would say about a mile outside of town.
Okay.
And so, what we have right now is a classification that's on that property and others that says, if you, well, actually, I would say on every classification we have, there's a list of things that are allowed.
Mhm.
And you don't have to ask any permission to do that thing on that zoning
Okay.
property. The property's zoned that way. Then there's a classification that is, basically special exceptions, where it's a contemplated use, but you have to come and get permission to do it in that zoning
And-
classification. And what, in this specific case, is that it would take, basically gas stations out of the permitted use and into the get permission category. So at least there would be a hearing where they would have to come in and explain, this is where our tanks will be, how far away are they going to be, what the state standard is for the distance to homes, lighting, how it's angled and some things like that, hours of operation. So if it's not a permitted use or a special exception, then you can petition for a variance of use because it's not contemplated.
Okay.
And, you know, whether or not somebody does that for any parcel at any given time, and honestly, it's not in front of this body, this is all in front of the BZA. You don't know what the answer is gonna be until you actually see what the application is.
Yeah.
So, in terms of a process, the plan commission has to have a public hearing on a modification of zoning ordinance. So there'll be a advertised public hearing, saying this is, the modification that's been proposed. They make a recommendation, it can be favorable, saying, council, yes, you should go ahead and make this change. Unfavorable, saying don't do it, or just kind of neutral, we make no comment. The council can actually approve it, as I understand it, regardless of what the recommendation is. They can, it does, so favorable, unfavorable, they kind of do whatever they want. So that's the process in a nutshell, and really there'd be two meetings that I think would be of interest. And that would be the meeting of the plan commission, and then the council meeting. And then if there is, because right now there isn't necessarily anything in front of the town, although I would argue, you know, under the current zoning structure, there doesn't need to be. If there ends up being a hearing for that specific parcel, immediate landowners, property owners would get notice of that. And then there would be a BZA meeting where that special exception is basically waived. So I guess there could be a third meeting, but in terms of the process, really there's two. I just don't want to discourage anybody from coming to a council
Yeah.
meeting and offering comments. It's not that you can't or you shouldn't. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying that there'll be specific timing.
And that's what I was
when
trying to
certain
verify,
things will
yeah.
happen. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So that's what I was getting at, is there'll be probably a meeting in June and then a subsequent meeting of the town council where they'll consider modifications to the ordinance.
Okay. That's what, I guess, yeah, as far as all that goes, And then the way you say it now is that's why we're trying to get these ordinances in there, because I would think everybody would agree essentially that you shouldn't have to just, or you shouldn't be able to just build whatever you want to build right there, even though, yes, I know it's zoned business or commercial, whatever you want to do, but to throw something like that up seems like it's a little bit, you know, again, another or auto body shop goes in there or whatever, that's one thing, but
I would just say that when you're modifying your zoning ordinance, and this is why I was talking about there's a larger overhaul that's already been in the works since last year, because of some other issues, not necessarily because of this one that's been brought in front of us. You have to be careful to make sure you're not changing something in one place because you're dealing with one issue and creating another one, all of a sudden another problem elsewhere. So you have to be able to look at the entire thing together as opposed to just making a couple narrow edits. So we've tried to select a couple narrow edits that we think address the concern that's been raised, but without, you know, basically setting off huge problems in a different area for us.
I understand. Okay, guys, well, I had written a letter for the last meeting there. I was out of town. I was at training down in Evansville. You know, you get to be a motorcycle cop these days. So, anyway, I said, I'd just read this to you guys if I could. But I appreciate the opportunity to have my voice heard on this issue. I live directly behind that proposed area there. And it was been said Family Express, maybe it's a vape shop or something like that, convenience store. I'm not sure. You know, you guys don't even know right at this point in time, right?
Nothing's been submitted.
Yeah, so we're kind of all in a limbo, but hopefully with everybody that comes in and sees everybody, we know that this is not the spot for it. But I'd like to share some concerns on it. I work midnight shift as a police officer, everybody knows that, which means I rely on my daytime hours for sleep. And I don't work midnights by choice, we'll put it that way. So even if this business is not open 24 hours, which our community has shown that most of them don't here, you know, like maybe midnight is the latest, maybe Casey stays open. A convenience store with fuel and service is still bring increased vehicle traffic, delivery trucks, regular activity throughout the day and evening. That kind of consistent noise and disruption would make it very difficult for me to get the rest I need to effectively serve the community. There are also concerns about air quality. My neighbor and others are worried about the impact of fuel vapors, heavy metals, and emissions so close to residential homes. Even if the site meets regulations, placing a gas station in close proximity to where people live raises reasonable concerns about long-term health and quality of life. In addition, developments like this can negatively impact nearby property values. Many of us have made significant investments in our homes, and placing a commercial fuel station directly behind residential properties can make those homes less desirable to future buyers. Over time, that doesn't just affect individual homeowners, it can also reduce the overall property tax base that our town relies on. I also think it's important to consider the type of development being proposed. This is not a locally owned business. The Family Expresses or vape shops or whatever it might be. The regional chains, and much of that profit generated doesn't stay here within our community. That's very different from supporting small businesses and local, where more of the economic benefit is reinvested right here in town. Bremen's slogan is "Bremen is a good town," and I believe Bremen is a good town, not a gas town. We are a community of about 4,600 people, and this would be our it would be our 5th gas station, and then 4th convenience store. At some point, we have to ask whether this is the kind of development we really want for our community's future. This is not just about convenience, it's about preserving the character and livability of the existing residential area. Many of us choose to live here because it is quieter and more residential, and this type of development would significantly change that. I am supportive of this community's growth and development, but I do believe this is not the right location for this business. I respectfully ask that the council consider the impact on the residents who already live here and to explore alternative locations that are more appropriate for the commercial use. So that's all I have. But thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments?
So like Jared, my statement that I'm going to read was prepared in advance before the news that Tony shared, but I'll go ahead and read it.
My name is Tammy Hudson, and I'm a concerned resident of Bremen. Mr. Lehman had suggested that we start a petition, and we have completed pages to submit today. I have 200 pages to submit, 200 signatures to submit. This
200
just started
pages,
3 days
let's
ago. Sorry, yeah, we're on it. But it just started 3 days ago, and we've got 200 signatures, so there is a lot of interest in this subject. As a group of Bremen citizens, we're concerned that gas stations are being created throughout Michiana, setting up the accompanying convenience stores. And as a group, we're concerned that these convenience stores are in turn much utilized to sell unregulated vape products. As a group, we're concerned that although Indiana does require a 1,000-foot setback of vape sales from schools, convenience stores have been allowed to be within 1,000 feet and continue to market and target teens. As a group, we're also concerned that gas station emissions are an unacceptable risk at 300 feet and an extremely high risk at 30 feet from the fence line for neighborhoods. As a solution, the signers respectfully petition the town of Bremen to simply amend the ordinance to prohibit the construction of new gas stations or convenience stores adjacent to residential neighborhoods within city limits. And we'll submit additional petitions as we receive them. On a personal note, a lot of you here know who my dad was, Steve Muffley. He rented the space where the 1016 West Plymouth Street for many years and ran Mitsmity Motors there. He was a good friend of Bud Michael and had a great business there. Before that, he opened and ran Muffley Service Center right down on the corner where the parking lot where the village shops are coming. Before that, my grandpa operated Muffley Mobile Service there for years, bought that business from Glenn Kyle. A little bit of history there. My dad would be one of the first people here today to say that it's not a good thing for Bremen. So I say that as a person personally invested both in a previous gas station history. I grew up with that, and as my father who rented that space for many years as a businessman, it's not the type of business that I feel we need in Bremen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give yours to whoever.
Thanks.
Uh-huh.
The proposed ordinance modification. My name's Robert Colby, live in 511 South Vaughn Avenue here in Bremen. I was going to ask, does the gas station definition include convenience store?
So the zoning ordinances we have right now is pretty light on definitions, and I don't think it addresses a convenience store in any of it.
Can we
Like
do that
any of
with the new
listed
ordinance
definitions.
modification?
So that is what is being discussed right now.
Okay,
So
that's it.
Yep.
Does anybody else have comment? Public comment? See you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you.
So even though, like Mr. Wagner said, this isn't really, it's not that it's not the place or it's just that we're not really gonna make a decision on anything because there's nothing been put in front of us yet. So, but however, I strongly urge you guys to continue to keep this going, right? Like, if you guys wouldn't have come up here 2 weeks ago, this probably wouldn't be continue to be discussed. After the meeting, I reached out to State Senator Mishler and State Rep Mr. Jordan, and both of them are on it. Mr. Jordan already hooked us up with the Chief Legal Counsel for AIM. We've gotten some ordinance from other communities in the state of Indiana that is addressing some of these issues like what we're dealing with. So at least we have something to go on. So, you know, I wish we could just get up here and say, nope, we're not gonna allow it. You guys are out, but we'd be in court. So we gotta put something together.
Russia.
What's that?
Or in Russia.
Or Russia. But, yeah, we want something that we can do that's going to hold its ground and be able to make Bremen what we want it to be. And it's hard because 50 years ago, I know you talked about your dad and other people in the community when the town didn't look like it looks today. And it's really hard to even think about what does the town look like in 50 years from now. I mean, they didn't have cell phones, they didn't have, you know, convenience stores, they didn't have vapes, they didn't have any of that. So how do you plan for something like that in an ordinance? So a lot of this, unfortunately, I hope you understand, it's not that we don't care, but you don't know you have a problem until something breaks. And then you gotta try to figure out how to fix it. And sometimes, you know, when something breaks, you can't fix that, but you can hopefully fix what's coming up ahead. So we're working on it. We're trying to do the best that we can in the time that we have to be able to do something here. I will reiterate from last meeting, nothing's been put in front of us. I mean, we know as much as, maybe less than what you guys know. You guys brought most of the information to us. I mean, we know that there was a sale, but nothing's been proposed. So until something gets in front of us, but for now, we're going to work on the ordinances and go that direction.
As we were talking there, does he have to let us know, or you guys know, I guess I should say, at this point in time, could he just start construction?
I am not quite certain on what permits he would have to pull off the top of my head.
That's,
I would
you know, as we were
imagine-
talking about it is.
I would imagine there's demolition permits for the building. I would imagine that there are some environmental things that designs and such that he would have to, or any owner would have to put in and probably get approved by the estate. I don't know for sure what those requirements are. My fear is that I am going to find out when I hear from IDEM that they are probably lighter than what most or all of you would hope. But I'm not familiar with what the state engineering standards are for gas stations. But I'm going to find out and we'll take it from there.
Okay. Somebody else mentioned that building was historical. I don't know if Alex, you might know or whatever, somebody said when he would have to construct his new one, he had to keep a building or a wall or something.
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
But,
RT would have known that,
Yeah.
but he's not here, so.
yeah.
I would say it's probably not a historic
Yeah, I didn't,
site.
I've never heard of anything about it, but it was brought to my attention. I said, well, maybe, I don't know, but.
Yeah.
Usually it's a designation that you
Right.
apply for and it has to be recognized, like the downtown area is in a historic district and so that places some limitations on you, but I'm not aware of there being any kind of designation there.
Okay. All right, we'll move on if there's nobody else to have anything to say. Mr. Frame?
You got my report?
Okay. And Chief Stoddard?
Same, you have reports?
Mr. Aguayo?
You got my report?
My report?
Matt? Everybody? All good?
That kills me when you guys go that fast, I'm sorry, because
I
I
know.
keep.
I'm waiting.
So did everybody have a report
Nobody,
this
everybody
time?
just submitted reports, so.
Just report.
Okay, just reports.
Make a motion to accept.
Hold on. Ben.
Oops, sorry.
You skipped right
No, I didn't. I looked at you, but you jumped in. I was just getting ready to finish up with you. Go ahead, Ben.
Well, you were here for the last one. You had left before I got to talk, and Alex wasn't here, so I'll bring you two up to speed. I brought forth a plan in front of the council. The soccer field is in need of lighting. I had talked with you also about it, and I've talked with Saltville, and we're in a good position to make that happen. So I've got 3 official quotes, and the leading quote is from Musco themselves, the company, for $165,000. And so I'm asking permission to get this project moving forward.
Are you guys absorbing the monthly electric? Okay.
We'll take care of the running all the conduit and all the wires.
Not the actual monthly metering of it. You guys absorbing that or?
I mean, we can entertain the. I mean,
Okay.
the school said if need be, they could, we could work something out. But I mean, it's not
Okay.
going to use that much, really.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to proceed with letting Ben go ahead with the lighting project.
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second to move forward with the lighting project for the soccer field. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. So moved. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. And that's all I have.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Austin, were you deeming equipment surplus or not yet?
No, right now.
Okay. I just saw them listed, so.
Yeah. A couple of things changed right before the meeting today, so we're
Okay.
holding off on that stuff right now.
Okay, thank you.
I think there was a motion.
Now I'll make a motion
Okay.
to accept department head reports.
Second.
We have I've said all in favor. We have a motion to accept department reports. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. So moved. Dan?
All right, how's it going, guys? On wastewater plant project, Thieneman's crews are currently working on installing earth retention out at the influent pump station project. They're about 15 feet deep now, got about another 10 feet to go. It's kind of slow going out there, fighting water and everything, but they're continuing to make progress with that. And they are also, they got foundation concrete footings set for the new control building, and they'll be setting them for the storage building here in the next few days. So kind of continuing on with that for the next few weeks, and then they'll be working on forming and pouring concrete for the influent pump station here for too long. On the agenda, you'll see two requests here listed for Thieneman's progress for this monthly period. Megan, it looks like request number 9, the amount is incorrect.
Okay.
The pay app amount for Thieneman operating is $642,000, $3.30. So 642,000.30. And we've reviewed said pay app and recommend approval.
Okay.
You guys will get a modified one.
Is it just the agenda that's wrong, or the
Yes,
actual
yeah, the
paperwork's
pay app's
correct?
fine.
Okay.
It's just the agenda and the requisition certificate actually.
Which
is
will take me
also
2
has
seconds
the-
to do.
Oh, it is the record.
Yeah, but-
That'll take me 2 seconds to do
Okay,
after the meeting,
alright,
so if you just
okay.
wanna approve it, and then I can
Perfect,
give you one
thank
while
you.
you're
Say,
signing.
make a motion to approve it as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve pay request number 9 as amended for $642,003.30.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve request number 9, the amount of $642,003.30. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. So moved.
And then in addition to that, as you know, monthly, they're requesting retainage be sent to an escrow account. This month's portion of that retainage to go to escrow is that request number 10 in the amount of $19,885.77.
I'll make a motion to approve request number 10 for Thieneman Construction, the escrow account for $19,885.77.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second to approve request number 10 for the escrow amount of $19,885.77. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed the same. So moved.
All right, that's kind of it for the wastewater plant. On other projects for water system PIR, Josh has indicated that they've drafted the final PIR. They're gonna be reaching out to review it this week. With Legner Street, sounds like a permit has been applied for CSX. They're awaiting approval of that to move forward. For 2025-01 community crossings, looks like Reith Riley's been selected to perform the work this summer. For Call 2026 at Bowen Avenue, the pre-con was scheduled for last week. Austin, do we have an update on that? Everything go okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and they're expecting to mobilize out there to start work after Memorial Day, so sometime here in June. With regards to the Ready project, the Stock Street project, I took a call from Josh Wyman on my way here that those plans and plan attached specs have been completed and they are being forwarded over to the developer and you guys for review by the end of business today. So it sounds like you guys should already have it. And then we'll be moving forward with permitting here immediately afterwards. But those have been wrapped up and they're ready to submit for permits. Then finally, the last item here, Mike Voll added some info on CCMG 2027. Indicated we're awaiting info for you guys to start survey design and estimating for the application in September. But Mike's working with Austin on this stuff, so just keeping you up to speed. That's all I got.
Alrighty, thank you. Yep. Town council comments.
I have 2. Did anybody from the council sit on these FMRs for the utilities?
Do we what?
Sit on the meeting for these?
I don't recall if I was there or not.
Okay.
I don't recall.
Just in the future, I think we should,
I've
we
been
have
to
in
a
the
few.
past.
I've been to a few, but I don't remember any particular.
Okay, because these are essentially setting up for budgets for the next 5 years, and nobody from here participated in it. So it's hard to control costs when we don't participate. and a financial management plan. So just my opinion.
So you're saying one of us, two of us
Yeah,
need to start?
yeah.
So, okay.
That's my recommendation, because what's gonna happen is they're gonna take this report from Baker Tilly, present it to the town council, they're gonna say, hey, we need a 62% rate increase. And we're gonna say, okay, Baker Tilly says we need it, but nobody participated in this meeting.
Well, every time we've encountered that, they've always come in front of the council and made their recommendations. So everybody has been,
Yep.
part of that.
But it's part of our 5-year planning. I think we should be involved. So, just my opinion. So, that's we're talking big numbers.
So should we designate an individual or?
Well, you and I both run the utilities for the water and wastewater, so we probably should be the liaisons for that to participate in those. Just my recommendation.
Like I said, I know I've been to some, I just don't keep a record
Okay.
of what I've been to.
Yeah, but it's a good thing. I mean, it really is. Gets us involved and then helps us support what their needs are. So, second thing is, I mean, we got big rate increases that we're talking here. We really need to talk about day-to-day operational budgets for the utilities. I keep saying that, but I think we really need to push for that. I mean, right now you're planning for 5-year capital costs, but your day-to-day costs, you can spend whatever you want. So, I think we really need to push for day-to-day operational budgets, just like we do for our tax-based departments.
Keith, what's your opinion on that? Do you feel as though you're tracking current expenditures?
I know this is Alex, things probably what you do in Wakarusa. I heard you say that they can spend whatever they want, and I don't think that's correct. They can't spend what they want. They all have a budget. They get budgeted at the beginning of the year, and they have a budget to work within.
They could, right now, you could go buy a $2,000 pump this week, a new $2,000 pump next week, the next one, all year long, and there's nothing there to stop that.
But they don't.
It's like
They
budgeting for-
don't do that until there's a need to buy those $2,000.
Yeah, but I think this is a multi-million-dollar business.
I understand that.
We should be managing, we should help guide the day-to-day operational budgets. Right now, it's a 5-year capital plan. So if this is like having a house payment, but your groceries and going out to eat or whatever you want to spend. In my opinion.
And again, I'm gonna ask, Mr. Frayne, do you feel as though you got a handle on their expenditures?
I don't think.
Do they come to you when you need, or when they need to spend money?
When there's a big expenditure, they absolutely, for instance, Austin and I are talking about a truck right now. And typically what happens is they also go to their liaison and get their input, which is always good. I think we have a handle on it. Again, this is, Alex likes this. I don't know enough about it to say this is wrong. And
You go to most cities that are like Plymouth and everybody else, they have day-to-day operational budgets.
I'll do some checking,
Yeah.
make some phone calls to my counterparts.
Yep. That's typical. Dan, do you see it ever? I mean,
I don't know that I've ever gotten that into the nuts and bolts to see it.
I know I've had the conversation with Baker Tilly and they've seen it and they've suggested. I mean, they think it's a good thing. You can't go wrong with it because you're managing your assets and your funds better than just saying, well, it's in the budget. You know, who developed the budget?
I guess, and I'm just gonna be really honest here and upfront, or not really upfront, but just honest. I got a full-time job, right? I know how to paint Arby's. I don't know how to do much more than that. I couldn't do any of these guys' jobs right here, none of them. So, and my point being is that I trust that these gentlemen and ladies that are run their departments are doing to the best of their ability. That's what we hired them to do. I don't disagree that we need a budget, we need a plan. I have my own personal spending plan at home, that my wife and I go through every year, right? I think, I wouldn't mind seeing if they, I'm sure when you work with Baker Tilly and whatnot, or whoever it is, Saulville, they're helping you to establish these budgets, correct? I mean,
But sometimes you can't control emergencies. If you have something that breaks down, you can't so we were going to Keith, hey, we got this broke down, what do we need to do? He said, take care of whatever needs to be repaired and fixed. So
100%, that's what we try to have reserves for, so I agree with that. But I guess my opinion is, should they have budgets and should they, try to to stick to the plan, yes. I think it's on, for me, it'd be on the superintendents to help build that plan out,
Oh,
because
it's easy to build.
I can't say, well, this is what we need to spend, other than what we've done
Use
historically.
historical data.
Yeah,
Yeah. I just think it's irresponsible of us to manage a multi-million-dollar business and ask to raise rates like we're talking about again and not have day-to-day operational budgets. I just think it's a bad look. So, and it's a bad way to manage a multi-million-dollar business. I mean,
but I think
you probably have department budgets, I mean, for every department that you guys have.
we do, I mean, from a business standpoint, yes, we monitor weekly, but I guess my question would be is, when they presented, 82%, I mean, which is obviously shocking, on the wastewater, that's mostly attributed to the $20 million project that we're doing. I mean, that was a $28 million project that we ixnayed, right? Said, nope, that's too much money, we need to go back to the drawing board, we need to find something more economical on that. But I don't know that daily budgets would move that needle.
It'll shift some. But
I
it
think it's
also just
worth
accountability.
mentioning that we didn't raise rates for most of the utilities for a long time, which is why we didn't get the funding that we were supposed to get, because the state said, you guys are too far down.
Right.
So the rates are coming up because they're too far down.
Yeah.
Not because of irresponsible spending.
No, I trust everybody in here, but I think it's our duty to make sure that we have budgets set up appropriately, that we're managing the dollars properly. I mean, I wouldn't run a multi-million-dollar business without having budgets. And we have capital budgets, but we don't have day-to-day operational budgets. I'll leave it there, but that's just my opinion. So,
I mean, I guess that's what we pay Saulville and Baker Tilly to help us understand too, though, correct?
yeah, it is.
I mean, we're spending
But what you're doing
hundreds of
is
thousands of dollars on
Baker Tilly's taken the numbers that you spent last year and said, hey, we need to, and this is what they want to do for the next 5 years, we need to up your budget. But nobody controlled those numbers. There's no budget to worth it.
I mean, do you have instances where there's been
We can talk.
overspending?
We'll talk.
But like the water department, we're under budget, the statewide.
That's
average,
fantastic.
we're way under.
Yep. But I think we can do better. And manage better.
So you have these censuses, but you can't confront the superintendents? So you're gonna talk later.
I'm allowed to talk to the council president.
Right, but you do that and then we don't get to hear any of it. If you got a problem with us.
I don't have a problem with anybody. I'm just saying we have
That's how it
multi.
feels. It feels like we're being micromanaged. Like Mike said, you guys put us in this position to do this job. It's what it is. If I have something that breaks, I'm gonna fix it.
And great. I'm glad you are.
Well, you're sitting here telling us that we're spending all this extra money on this stuff.
I didn't.
And before, when you were here, no department head or liaison sat in on the budgets. Why is it all of a sudden now?
I think it's important that we're involved.
Well, I'm saying, you didn't bring that up before when you were here.
Yeah, I also built my own department budgets too, and worked off of those. So,
If I could interject.
yeah.
It doesn't seem like this is something that you're going to be able to decide on how to do tonight, and you're missing two of the voices from the conversation already. Is this something that if you were going to do it, is there a time of year when it's more important to implement it? Is it better to do it around the budget cycle or
Probably
around the calendar year?
January, or probably February, because you can have all the previous year's data. And it can be rolling information.
So this is something, if you were gonna do it, you wouldn't start until February?
Yes.
So, I mean, I think it's something that we don't have to make a decision on tonight.
I'm just simply stating, we're looking at huge rate increases. I think we can find ways to be more efficient. And one way to do that is by day-to-day operational budgets.
I think you continue that conversation over the course of the year.
Yep. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Daly?
I'm good.
Okay. I thought I had something, but I forgot what it was, so I'm not gonna waste everybody's time, so.
I would just like to make a quick note that the next meeting will be on a Tuesday because of Memorial Day. So
Oh, I knew what I was gonna ask.
it's Tuesday, May 26th. I should have said that earlier, sorry. Just
Thank
wanna
you.
Make a note for that.
Chief Stouter or Austin, I don't know who would, is the school gonna do a parade for the, like they've done in the past, or they, for graduation? Anybody
They haven't
heard?
contacted us yet if we
Okay.
are wanting to.
I'm assuming they're not going to at this point,
They
since
haven't.
they would have asked for road closures. Okay, perfect. I have nothing further. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Do we have a motion to adjourn? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Thank you.
I do have one more announcement. We made it through a meeting.
Without losing sound.
Yay!
Perfect.
What did I say?
Who was the motion there?
I made the motion.
You made the motion, okay.
Yeah.